welcome to Living Logos. On tonight's episode, we have 4 young adults getting together and discussing what the church looks like after lockdown for them. Please will you give us a like and a subscribe and leave your comments below on your thoughts on tonight's discussion. I hope you enjoy and we'll see you next week.
Good morning, friends and family. Today, we as a panel have come together to answer the question, what does the church look like after lockdown? And I would like to begin by introducing our panel, starting on my right.
Hi everyone, my name is Cabello. I am studying and I'm from Calvary Christian Church.
Good morning everybody, my name is Jordan and I'm also studying and I'm at Bethel Family Church.
Morning everyone, my name is Buhle. I'm also studying and I'm from Worship Center.
Good morning everyone, my name is Nicole. I'm currently unemployed and I'm from Bethel.
My name is Gregory and I'm currently studying as well, and I'm from Calvary. Okay, so I'd like to begin with saying thank you all for taking the time to be here today. And I think we'll have a fruitful discussion. So let's start off by asking the question, what does church look like after lockdown? And how do we as a youth engage the church after this period done? So would you like to start, Jordan? Or what do you think?
Okay, well, honestly, I thought that our church will look after lockdown depends on the area and where the church is. So because there's different kinds of churches will react in a different type of way. The church will adapt in its own way. So like, if I have to look at how church is in our area, like the people that live there by us are more based on routine. So like the older people are routinely used to going to church in person, and that is what they would still want even after lockdown. So in that aspect, I think the church would still go on the same way. But then again, you would get the different churches that would adapt in a way of using online church as a more common medium in like with using normal church where people still meet in person. So they will have maybe more stuff online for people to engage with, and also you can still come to church and have a normal service. Yeah.
I think the going online has really provided that platform, that medium for us as a church to go about spreading the word in ways that were unimaginable before then. And I think that's a very good point. Kabila, would you like to say anything on that?
Yeah, I think I completely agree that the online has helped us to firstly reach more people and secondly to sort of take out that routine of church, because you can just go on YouTube or wherever you're streaming and you can watch that as many times as you want to. And I do have like a really weird opinion also, like, will there be church after lockdown? Because I've been looking at like this like vaccine stuff and like the microchips and everything and the ID 2020 thing, and Bill Gates is really driving this microchip thing in the vaccine. So I don't know, man. I feel like, will there be church after lockdown? Like, is there gonna be a period where we're allowed to go to church freely, like soon? I don't know.
Without being monitored, without being tracked.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess that's a question that a lot of us, especially young people, are engaging with and asking ourselves. Butle, Nicole, what do you guys think, Butle?
I think I agree with Camilo's second opinion. Just asking myself, really, will church look the same? You know, I think based on our area where we are, you know, the routine thing would be, we're also based on routine, and as well, not a lot of people are, because our church, we have older people, they're not technological based and all, but as well, I just have this question, Lord, are we really going to go back to normal? You know, we could fundamentally change so much that we could never go back to what we know, you know. So I just want to know, Lord, are we ready for that, you know? And am I ready for what's going to happen? Yeah, it's really, yeah.
I think that's quite important. On to you, Nicole.
Okay, for me, I would agree with Jordan that it's based on where the church is at the area, but it's also like the online would be more likely used as to people going to church, because you know, like we adapt to new natures that keep coming and coming. So now the new nature is not going to church, so being at home, smaller churches like house churches, and then the online platform. So I think that's what church will look like after lockdown, more in-house church and online church. Yeah.
I think what's important is that we've made mention of what normality is, and that's what we as Christians seek once regulations come to an end. But then how do we go about defining that normality? And I think it stems from that intimacy of wanting that human interaction with one another. And I think that's something that online church cannot give. And I think that's something we need to consider as well, because we do long for that, of being able to hold each other's hands as we pray, to be able to come to the altar and coming forth, having people surround us and pray for us. And I think that's something we long for. So my next question I want to ask is, we've touched on the old people and how the old people will struggle to adapt to this new way of church. What role do you think we as a youth have played in church before lockdown, and how do you see that changing once these regulations come to an end? So anyone up to take that?
I'll go. The youth played more of a laid back type of feel when it was in church, because if you're not given the responsibility of being a youth leader, you won't necessarily take part in or the service or like do something in church unless you've been placed on the schedule. But now I feel like after lockdown, the youth will be more interactive in the church. They will take up more responsibility going into the church, because I feel personally like we would want that change for more young people to be driven to God than what they were before.
Yeah. Wow.
I think though, like, we might think that now, but like when you go back to church and when you start going into the routine again, and then it's just like, oh, okay, everything goes back to normal, if that makes sense. Like you have that drive now, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do so much. But then you get there and like the systems of the church are still there, and it's like, oh, okay, never mind, you know?
And back into a level of comfort.
Exactly.
That we're so familiar with, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
sorry, I think also, because of the lockdown, I think we've sort of had to take our faith into our own hands. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
you're not relying on the pastor as much as you used to anymore. And maybe that gives us a little bit more freedom to do things in the church and to start our own things, like maybe starting a small group, starting a house church or anything. So I think definitely the youth will be more in tune with God, if that makes sense, because you've had so much time, you know, to linger with him and just to be who you are without the influence of other people on your faith.
To be given that opportunity to take initiative at this point,
Yes.
and you think that's what would have been provided by the time we come back. Wow. Nice.
Yeah, I agree with what the ladies have said. That I think that after lockdown, if the people in the youth really want it, and then we will have more independence from, let's say, the rest of the church. Like we will be our own separate thing. Really, we will know how to function by ourselves, because, like you said now, that during lockdown we had to take our faith into our own hands. Like we didn't have to, we couldn't really rely on anyone else to really help us through that, unless you like went looking for it really. But that is actually a good thing to for us to have gone through ourselves, that we can actually help maybe people younger than us to do the same. That when the traditional thing that you used to is taken away, are you able to continue by yourself? Are you able to take your faith into your own hands and not just say, my pastor's gone, what am I going to do now again? So I think that is what the youth can do. Yeah.
I agree with everyone.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I think personally, I've been given a greater responsibility now that lockdown, during this period of lockdown, simply because the old folks might not know how to use YouTube. So I'm there having to show them how to subscribe, how to click like, how to comment. But I think it's very important points that you all have touched on. And I think also we need to look at what medium do we use after lockdown as a youth. Are we going to come together online and engage with one another online, or are we going to go back to our normality of coming together and seeing each other all? I think that's something we need to also decide on, because I think it's important that we as a youth begin having those discussions of where do we see ourselves in the church and what role we play in the church. So on to my next question. Interesting one. What do you guys think about church going online, being streamed? How do you think that has impacted the manner in which online has been used as a medium to spread the word? And do you think it's been able to filter down into communities that perhaps do not have access to mobile data, who do not have access to being able to go online? How do you think the online has formed that, has shaped that?
Well, honestly, I think online can have its pros and its cons, really. So the pro is that it can reach more people than just people coming to the building itself. So a lot more people have access to the word when it comes to online church. But then again, people miss out on that interaction with one another, that physical interaction with one another, let me say. So yeah, that's how I feel that online has an impact. That people are more exposed to the word, but people aren't really exposed to one another. So yeah.
Okay, nice. I think also to factor in, like we've previously mentioned, it's been used as a medium to spread the gospel. But how do you think how can we make this more accessible to people from disadvantaged communities? How do you think we can go about doing that?
I think maybe, firstly, you can get like a projector and stream and stuff. But I think it's your responsibility to look at that word, to watch the thing, and then go spread it to other people, because they might not necessarily have all the equipment and all these things to deliver it to them, but you are the vessel and you can be the vessel.
I agree with Fabello, because if I have access to any online platform, I can take what I have learned to those who does not have access. So like people who doesn't have radio or TV or even a cell phone, I can take what I've learned and I can share it with those people, and they can share it with the people that they know, and so and so and so forth. Yeah.
I think online church has been such a blessing in this time, being taken out of normal church normalcy and then having to relate online, because even before this we were always on our phones, WhatsApp, whatever, and I think for young people it's easier. I've seen that people, like in person, bringing young people together, they are very awkward. They don't say anything. They look at you and you're like, can you say something, please? But then when you're relating over an online platform, like, they're more vocal because they're more comfortable. They're at the space of their home. Now, on the topic of the people who don't have access, I think if there could be like sites where it's 0 rated, where they could there could be a platform for them, and then like they would be easily accessed, because I know in the university they do that for those who can't reach the work that they need to do, and also maybe just calling and say, hey, I watched this, this was really cool and it inspired me, how are you feeling? how you're doing, you know, because you then have the element of still having conversation and still sharing the gospel. So you do two birds, you know, one stone, two
Yeah.
effects.
No,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Nice. And how do you think as a church we have responded to not online learning, but to having church taken online? How do you think as a church we've responded? As a youth particularly, have we taken that well? I think personally, I think it has required a greater level of discipline and commitment, because now you're given all of this freedom, and you know that you can always download the message or you can always stream it at a later time, but to stay diligent in knowing that you wake up on a Sunday to watch the word, I think requires commitment. And do you think that's been a response from many of the people, the youth in the church?
And generally, I don't think so. No.
Well, why would you say that?
Because a lot of like my friends in other churches and stuff, like they say that their churches are streaming, but like you ask them like, what has the pastor been talking about? They're just like, no, I'm gonna watch it later. You know, I think it brings a level of laziness that's just like, it's there, I can watch it later. So
why do it now when it can always be done later? Oh, I see. And you, Joel, what do you think on that?
Well, I think we have to think of it like, as you even said now, by accident of the online learning, right? All of us here have been at university, and I feel like it's the same. When you go to university, you have the freedom of saying, do I want to do this work or not? So you have to ask yourself, do I want to build my faith or not? And then because of it, you will just say like, I want to watch this. I want to learn more. I want to see what the people are teaching. So as a youth, if we really want to do that, then we would do it. Yeah.
You go about doing that, making it happen.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, you know, when you used to routine as, oh, my mom's going to wake me up, take me to church, what, or my dad or whatever, and then it's like gone. I'll be honest, when lockdown happened, I was happy, I was sleeping. I was like, full night's rest, thank you, Jesus, you know. But then I realized, I was like, okay, but my faith is not growing. I have to do something active. I have to do something, you know. If you're not that kind of person to do it yourself, then you have to, friend, could you help me here? I want to watch. Can you watch with me? And then let's talk about it, you know. Have a sense of accountability, you know. Because it helps when you have someone and, you know, this person's going to watch. And if I don't watch, I'm going to be left out, you know. So, yeah, that's how I feel.
Nicole, what do you think about this?
I'm just going to say I agree with the table, but also from personal experience, like ours wasn't streamed, ours was via WhatsApp. Like the pastor would send the message via WhatsApp, and then you would have to do it as a family in your homes, and there was a time set, so it's 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And you know, you can like deviate from it, but for us, we've like with my family, we've been so like into it that Sunday morning is church. So Sunday morning everyone is up early, so we go about it. But then for the other people, that like the rest of the young people, they might not have that kind of setting at home, so they would have, like the people said, I'll do it later, I'll watch it later, or even tomorrow, because it's still there, I can still watch it tomorrow. So yeah.
Nice. You know, this might be on a whole different topic, but it relates quite well to this. You know, I hear a lot on the radio of people who call in and speak about how it's been difficult for them to set that boundary between, this is my working hours and this is the period in which I'm at home. And it becomes quite blurred, especially now during lockdown and people are being at home. And it made me wonder, you know, where you would be used to having a church service from 9 to 11. Now you can have church service at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and it can just be extended and go on. And do you think that has really, if you've experienced that, your period of being with the Lord, do you think that period that has been extended, do you think it has benefited you spiritually?
Yeah, honestly, I think it is, because like Okay, I feel like the best way to explain it, like you said, we have the ability to choose. We have the leniency of choosing what time we want to like interact with online church. So like if like maybe for instance if you watch your church's online sermon 1 o'clock in the afternoon and then come 8, 9 o'clock and you feel like you wanna watch a different churches and then you can. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with like having a different time for spending that time with the Lord or spending that time watching a sermon. You know? That's how I see it.
I personally love like the time that's been extended because we are different people. We worship differently. So say if you are really into worship this Sunday and you just want to go like 10 hours, today, and someone's like, well, I've had like a long week, I just wanted 5 minutes, then there's a difference in opinion, and like then they have to kind of cut that short, then quickly go into the word, then you have to quickly go back into the week again, whereas now it's like more free and you can literally just sink into the word, allow God to speak to you, and get the strength that you need for the weeks to come. So I think it's a great thing, fantastic thing.
I think it's quite important, as you've mentioned. I think especially with the fact that whoever at this day and age still takes notes, but I think with the fact that you have access to it 24/7 has really given us the opportunity to go into the week, and if we're feeling down, to replenish our faith by going and touching base with the word again. And I think that has proven to be quite significant, I think, in my life particularly, to always go back and refer to the word and to relive that moment of worship and celebration. So the next question is, what's your personal thoughts on the traditional model of church? And I think perhaps we've answered this question, but what do we define as normality? That traditional model that we want to work towards achieving once lockdown comes to an end.
Can you please define the traditional model of church?
Traditional model being, so for example, if I take at Calvary, we know in the morning that we will have praise and worship, and then we will have tea time. And a lot of us look forward to the tea time because that's the platform where we guys come together, we hug, we catch up with everyone, seeing how everyone is doing. We just get to fellowship with one another. And in our church, that's a tradition. That's something that we pride ourselves on. I don't know if that helps in answering your question.
It does help.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what do you guys think on that? And yeah, I said people don't take notes.
I don't know, I guess if you look at different churches, each church will, I guess, have their own tradition. Like, I'm not sure what exact church is it there by us, but it's not like an Anglican church or something where people, you have to dress a certain way and all of that stuff.
The apostolic.
Yeah, those people. You see, that is like their tradition where you have to wear a suit and a big hat and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, people will, like I said, like maybe for them, that's something that they will want to get back to after lockdown. Like, it's been in them for so long that it's something they want to do. So like for us, I think if we can go back to having traditional church after lockdown. Everybody comes in, praise and worship, fellowship, the word, and then like it won't be really a necessarily difficult thing to do, to just have that. It's like just a routine of things that people can easily follow, you see, but it just comes in like if people want to be there, they'll be there. If not, then they won't be there. But I think the most difficult thing is that will people be willing to get back into the word itself? Like the routine you can get into, but getting back into the word and learning about the word and getting closer with God, is that really the thing that people, the traditional thing that people will want to go back to, because maybe people will, like maybe in now this time there will be those people that they've like put their faith on the back burner now, like they're not really making their faith a priority, and then like they would have probably lost touch or something, and then it's like we need to find a way to reach out to those people who have not really been taking their faith into their own hands during this time. But yeah, I guess like it's their people that is going to need the help when it comes to their time.
Yeah. Wow. And do you think, as we go back to that traditional model, do you think it's something that should be optional? If you feel like you want to be present with other believers, do you think that we should have the option of going that route, or do you think people should also be given the option of being able to stay at home in their pajamas and stream as well?
I think the lockdown helps us to think about a new normal, a normal way it's going to be both normal to sit at home and live stream and to come to church, and maybe to think of new ways that we can engage without having to go to church, but like, for example, the small groups, and just thinking about ways that you will connect with other people, just not in a church setting, for example, like thinking about the church in a different way and like in different dimensions, and just not thinking conventionally. And I don't know what that means, but it could mean looking at the church on a different day, for example, like maybe, I don't know, maybe this is controversial, but like not having church on a Sunday and things like that, and just thinking out of the box to just connect with different people and just to reach different masses, because I think this online thing has helped us to reach people that we couldn't reach like in conventional church. So maybe think of ways that we can do that normally. Yeah.
Anything else on this topic?
I think on the point where you said, should we be given the option, you know, I think that it's good to have the option, but I also think if we really think realistically in your church, you'll have that one person who'll give you the stink eye that you didn't come to church, you know, you decided to stay home, you know, but maybe that's your comfort zone, you know. I think I agree with KB. We really do need to look at different ways of doing church, you know. I think we as Christians need to, and young people, we are dynamic, we are thinking different. We can't always go back to the old model, you know. Even God doesn't stay the same, you know. He's always looking at he's always helping us in different ways, you know. So we can't always look at the same problem same way, you know. There are people who, for example, who have different night shifts, like who work different shifts, you know, and maybe Monday is their day, you know, where they can really relax, and so doing church on Monday for them would make more sense than Sunday. So I think we really should be open to looking at things differently. Yeah.
But I think also quite importantly is that whatever process that we go about taking this, I think it's important that we refer it back to the Word, and that we don't deviate and go about forming our own form of Christianity and what we think the Word is. I think that's quite important. You know, as much as we can say we've all experienced what it's like to have church service streamed online, what about those churches that haven't gone online? What about those churches that still are fixed on the model of people coming in and worshiping and praising, simply because perhaps they don't have the funds to transition online? Their normality is still the same, you know, and for them God is still speaking in the way He has as before. So what about those churches? Do we need to go about supporting them, or do we just leave them on their own? How do you think? It's a very tough question, I know, but it's something we need to discuss, because you will have two parts: churches that transition quite well online, and those that will never see what a video recording is. You know, so I think that's something we need to ask ourselves, particularly as youth.
Well, see, our church is actually one of those churches that can't go online, like, let me say, video online. Like Nicole said, we our online was WhatsApp, where we had to give the word, send the word to the people like it, because the people won't have access to, watch streaming a video
Okay.
or stuff like that. So being able to support churches like that, I think it's important really, because like a different church, like if the church gets that support, it's good that they have someone to lean on in that time. So if they can get the support from someone else that will make online more accessible, then that will be better, because you need to look at also the different options of how you can like get the message to someone else. So if it will be like recording a video and then sending it to someone, or like even I record a video and then I go to everybody's house and then I Bluetooth it to you or something like that. That is like a way of supporting. Like support can be a simple thing. Like even in that example, I can support you by driving you to those places. Like I'm helping your church to spread or to send the sermon to its people. So yeah, I think support in that way is important.
Well, I think quite similar to, I think both here touched on that topic of zero rated. How does the church go about creating a website or a platform that will allow other churches to upload videos so we can reach the people that it's intended for? So I think, yeah, that's quite important. Nicole, do you have anything to say on that?
I think I agree with you when you say that God is still working in those churches. I think it's very true, and like we don't know all the ways that God works, and I think it's important to support them, because a lot of people that goes to those churches need it, and yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, wait. Now that you mentioned, like, if it's mostly the small churches that would need the support. So if you get those, the bigger ranges of churches, so you can, they would know, like we know the different churches within our area, right? So like we know this church is there, that church is there. But like the big churches that have the means to help the smaller churches, I feel like they know who they are. So that support can be made from those types of churches. Because if they have the means to stream online, they can offer that to the small churches and say, we know that you aren't able to do that, but can we help you out to that? Can we do the streaming for you? Like you share your sermon and we put it on our website, or we come to your church and your pastor can do the message and we play it on our website, and then we can send it out to all the people from both the churches. Like, yeah.
Well, I think also, coming back to that, the new normal, as mentioned, just because lockdown has come to an end doesn't necessarily mean people are not adhere to social distancing and keeping themselves safe. And we will need to look at other models, and a model that has worked, is house church. And how do you think we as the youth can go about engaging more people to be active in house church?
I think something that the Lord has definitely put on my heart during this lockdown is to start. So like I meet with the people in my area, like individually, like and talk to them. But I think He's definitely put it on my heart to maybe gather people that would not be interested in watching a live stream and stuff like that. People that really need that human interaction, like that need to ask the question in person and be like, And I think that's something that a lot of us need to think about doing, because it doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes maybe an hour in a week just to sit down and to talk to people. And that's how a lot of really good things start. It starts with a conversation. And when we realize that we are the church, then you sort of get a different view to see that you can make more difference than you think. Like you can do a lot more than you think for the kingdom. And it starts really small. It can start with like 2 people, but you can get somewhere really cool with that.
So essentially taking initiative in doing that. And I think, as you say, the church is not necessarily the physical building, but the people who are in it. And I think this ties now to perhaps a more important question is, how do we go about evangelism and creating disciples of God's people after lockdown? What medium do we take? What approach do we take? Tough one. Leave the best for last,
Okay, so I've been just processing and thinking, and usually how I speak to my neighbors, it's through the wall, like hello, how are you? I think it starts just like that. Conversation really does help. You say, I don't have sugar. Then, somehow you just bring it into conversation. And how are you doing with your walk with the Lord? And then just start sharing, and it starts becoming something, because we as people, we're relational. I don't think we can go on just staying in your homes and going online. You do need human interaction. It helps. I watched this video. There was these two guys who were standing on a balcony, and they started playing their instrument, and everyone just came out, and they were just so happy, So I think it can start out like that, standing at your balcony and then start sharing, and then someone hears someone's sharing. Okay, let me listen in, and then they have a difference in opinion, and then it becomes a regular thing, and it can become normal, Yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay, so we have this. I don't know if they've driven past the way you guys, but we have this where there's a guy that would preach. They're driving on a bakkie, then they have a speaker, and then the man's on a mic, and then he's
drive-through.
Yes, and he's driving around in the street. So that can be a form of evangelism after lockdown, because they drive through the street and then they share the word. And there was someone in the street behind us. They also did the same thing, but they were in their yard, and they were, I don't know, were they using a mic or were they playing like a video or something, but it was also someone preaching. So we can look at those ways of evangelism and outreach. And also regarding to the house churches, you as a family can start off first, because not everyone in everyone's household or family is saved. So you can start there, and then maybe from there it can branch out. Like I can share the word to my brother, and then he gives his heart to the Lord, and then he feels the need to share that with his friends at their home, and that's how you can also reach out to other people as well.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think at the same time, when we go about those outreaches, and I think Butler, you've mentioned it, that we yearn for that human interaction. But when we go about into the world and seek to make disciples of God's people, with 5 months in lockdown, all we've ever heard is the importance of social distancing. And I think more than ever before, people have become more aware and more conscientious of their surroundings, how they go about interacting with who they touch, what they touch, and essentially how they go about interacting with the world. And I think more than ever before, people are being put in a position where they need to take sole responsibility of not only their own well-being, but in the well-being of their family and friends. And I think that's something we'd have to look at as we move in after lockdown. So yeah, thank you guys so much for engaging in this wonderful topic. And I wish you all the best as you go home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.